Hello, everybody, and once again, welcome to Internet Traffic King. I'm the Big Fabu, John Fondi, and we've got a great show for you. We've got great guests, and more than that, we've got great information for you. So, hey, if you watch the show, we want to make sure that we get you involved and get us involved because this is a non-advertiser promoted show. So we need your help, and what we need your help is go to one of our sites and give us a 5-star rating on there because that's where the value is going to come to other people, so we can build our audience as well. And so from on Spotify, make sure you do that. And you can also catch us on Facebook and YouTube, as well as our internet site, Internet Traffic Kings as well. So invite your friends, and we'll keep doing this as long as we possibly can, and we want you to be a part of it. The great thing about this show is that we bring on great information. It's pertinent. It's things that are going on right now, and information that you can use to grow your business, grow your health, and it's quintessential to really improving your life as well. Speaking of quintessential to this show, I want to bring on the Click Father, Kevin DiVincenzi. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, John. How are you?
Good, good. Quite a week, but it seems like things are maybe starting to loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we see. It looks like Vegas is going to start opening up, at least some of the businesses. Casinos are still 3 weeks off. Now they're saying maybe Memorial Day, so we still have a while there, even though they're a quintessential part of Las Vegas, but somehow...
It's true, because what essentially is taking place is the gaming commission, the gaming board,
right,
basically set out a list of guidelines that you have to basically follow. There'll be much more inspections before they actually open those casinos. But they're talking about putting plexiglass around the gaming tables now. Yeah. Every employee in there is issued sanitation equipment and stuff, so everything is
and there's a gentleman I co-hosted. A friend of mine's got a show, The Big Jackpot. We had him on as a guest a few weeks ago, and we had a guy on there that's selling to casinos these UV filters now in between the slot machines. So it's basically a plexiglass with a wiper, that creates ozone. So I mean, they're taking some big steps. I don't know. Well, I can't imagine what's going to happen to the restaurants, the bars, the day clubs. I mean, all that is just dead right now, right? I know that Hakkasan's not opening until 2021.
Yeah, they definitely are. All that stuff is going to be closed down for now, definitely the nightclubs and the day clubs for sure. Restaurants, I think they'll come up with some possibilities on that. But the other thing is that people are still going to be a little bit squeamish about
restaurants, John. You know, Texas reopened restaurants, and a lot of these restaurants won't even open because they're only allowed to have a third of their capacity. So, you know, being in the restaurant business years ago myself, I know what restaurants run at a 17% margin. That's optimal, right? So if you're running at a 17% margin, you're only at a third capacity, it's never going to work. Anyway, it's never going to work. So
are you seeing any changes in your business as well?
We're continuing to pivot and continuing to make changes. Traffic is still really, really cheap right now. There's a lot of opportunity. A lot of the big advertisers are still pulling their budgets, which is great. So you're seeing some new guys on the scene spending big dollars. A company called Masterclass is spending quite a bit, and a few others as well. But the big brands are all pulling right now. So when I say all, I'm generalizing, and you know that's a quintessential part of the business. You know, as far as for Google and some of the traffic sources. So.
Well, you're so true, and I'm reading a book now called Millennial Samurai, and it's all about pivoting and looking into the mindset of the millennials and the direction they're going in. So a lot of people are reinventing themselves and reinventing the right way, and you can kind of help with that as well with your years of experience.
Absolutely. I've already spoken to quite a few businesses. I always help people consult as far as how they can pivot, because at this point we're going into World 2.0, right? So you have to change, you have to adapt to what the market's going to be. It's not going to be the same, you know. And by the way, congratulations on finishing Hooked on Phonics. It obviously worked that you can read now, so I'm very proud of you.
Well, it all started with My Baby Can Read, so.
Right.
And I don't have to.
So gifting you my 1-year-old books actually put you on the right path. I'm very happy.
That is really true. And I'm learning to color inside the lines as well.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice.
Let me adjust my pull-ups right now as we move on as well. And at my age, that's no joke as well.
Well, John, it all depends.
That's true. That's true. It's quintessential to keeping me dry and safe.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, we got a great show planned for you. Got great guests. And Kevin, that's one of the great things about being the executive producer of this show. You really know this industry, and you bring on, some not only entertaining guests, but guests that actually really know their business. And it seems like it's something integral to this industry and this platform. But everybody does something a little bit different, but they all have a pretty good time with this as well.
Well, and our goal is to bring on the experts, the people that have been doing it for a long time, to give their perspective. And I think we've done a really good job doing that. So John, just like you spoke about at the beginning of the show, we're not an ad-supported show. So the best thing you can do is like us on iTunes, give us 5 stars. That'd be great. Go to internettraffickings.com, share it with your friends. That's the best way that we can see support from our fans to continue doing these shows. So thank you very much. You're a quintessential part of our podcast.
And also you can go to the internet site, internettraffickings.com as well. A lot of good information on there. A lot of activity going on Facebook and also on YouTube. So, hey, you can listen to the show. You can watch it over and over again and just sit around and have popcorn and see how everything's going. Speaking of popcorn and things tasting good, we want to open up the doors to the newly remodeled green room. Bring in our first guest as well. This is Bill Somerville. Bill, so nice to have you on the show. There he is. And so, Bill, you're with Policy Bind, and there's a lot of information that's basically going on in the internet and the insurance space out there. So I think you'll kind of touch on some of the perils of that and your pay-per-call network and some of the fraud and some of the bogus things that are going around. And you'd think that there would be a little more integrity with what's going on, but you're seeing things happen, every day. And but what you can do is help people, no matter how big or how small their business is. Bill, I want to take the time to thank you for being on the show, and it's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
It's kind of interesting. Now that we've got you sat up in your chair, now we can actually see your shirt. So anyway, why don't you kick it off a little bit and tell us a little bit about
I got a standing desk, yeah, so I can lower it, show a little more.
There you go.
Up, and then it's funny. I just I got a foldable treadmill I put underneath the desk to get my steps in while I'm working. Nice. For my birthday from the fiance. So yeah, quarantine life has not been too shabby for me, actually. I don't know if I'm even going to go out of my house even when I'm allowed to now. I have everything here.
And you just got a new house, so you can't get out and explore the neighborhood and stuff. How'd the move go? Everything flawless?
It was a shit show, John, to be quite honest with you. It was
always is.
So you could only imagine, as I was saying before we turned the video live, to call someone and tell them, hey, I want to do a move. I know that we're in a state of emergency right now. We're not technically supposed to be moving, and you're not a quote unquote essential business. This is not an April Fool's joke. Please come pick up all of our stuff and move it into another home. So it took a couple phone calls, but we eventually were able to get it. And funny enough, to get it, I probably made somebody somewhere money on a moving ad, because we went right online and filled out a form and were quickly smashed.
It was probably mine.
It probably, yeah. I mean,
it was probably mine. Yeah.
Hope you got a good price for it.
Were there any special rules that you had to abide by with the move?
Surprisingly not. There was not any type of rules. I mean, the people that came and picked everything up, they were not English speakers, so maybe there was rules. I didn't understand it. I'm lucky though. My wife, she's Mexican American. She did understand them, but didn't tell me anything that was going on. So I hope there wasn't rules, and if there were, she promptly got around them.
Oh, they were probably just making fun of you.
Probably. What's this gringo doing?
The gringo.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
So what is taking place now in your line of work and what's going on? Anything you can offer up to our viewers today?
Yeah, sure. Well, PolicyBind is it's an insurance-based network. You know, we came across this idea of like, hey, if we're going to do something, let's just do one thing, work in one vertical, and do it as best as we can, so that we can service our advertisers the best we can, and then also get the best offers for our publishers. So we stick strictly within the insurance vertical, and right now within the vertical, you have auto, home and renters, Medicare, health, final expense, and term life. And as you could probably imagine, with everything going on in the world, health and final expense and Medicare and term insurances they're very hot right now. And we have a lot of consumers that are coming across, and talk times on our calls are very high because you can't turn a television or pull your smartphone out of your pocket or pretty much listen to any type of news whatsoever without, hearing something about the pandemic or the virus or, whatever it may be. So it's a big pain point for consumers at large. It's just like, hey, like there's a virus. I am insured, but I'm underinsured right now, or I'm not insured at all, and I need to get insured immediately. So as a direct result of that, fortunately, our industry has been doing very well, and our advertisers have been doing well as well.
Bill, talking about small businesses, most of your clients, if I understand it correctly, for we'll take auto insurance, are small mom and pop agencies, right? They're smaller agencies that you're providing calls to.
Yes. So,
That's great.
We do have, some of our bigger clients, but I think for us, what's helped us out the most is having these smaller shops and having closer relationships with them. And even though the cap that we get from them is relatively small, the trade-off to that is that the information that they parse back to us is great. Sometimes it can be almost too great. It's like, hey, I just got off one call. I want to talk to you about it.
And
I want to talk to you too.
And to clarify, because again, our lingo, cap, we both understand what it is, but I guarantee you nobody else does. Cap meaning the client's budget, what they're willing to take, let's say on their daily cap. So they want 10 calls a day or 20 calls a day or what have you. That would be what a cap is. Sorry, I was just clarifying. I mean, we just got John reading, so we don't want to really teach him too much in one day.
That's too much.
That's word of the day.
All of this quintessential stuff is going to be working for us. So I have to take in this information as well. Probably seen a lot more people looking into life insurance now, I would think, when you have now a chance to ponder about your future as well.
Yeah, they sure have. And the affiliates have taken advantage of it and have been pushing on social and search heavily, which we ingest quite a bit of. Some, creative that we take a look at, we're like, wow, that's really good. And some of it is a little bit scary.
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? Is people using scare tactics. Obviously, you and I come from the same cloth, Bill, as far as, being compliant and wanted to have a good user experience, but obviously people are going to push the envelope, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they will, and that's just that's marketing and testing is like in order to know where and I use this analogy just like in life in general. It's like in order to know where the middle of the street is, you have to walk to the far side, right? You got to get a little bit of a hand slap and be like, okay, well, maybe it's not a good idea to have a creative with Trump like opening up the bill and putting bullshit in it, maybe that will get you shut down on social media. Or
I don't know. What do you think, Bennett? Would you sign off on that?
No.
Facebook certainly is not signing off on it. That's for sure.
Right.
Very true. Very true. So, hey, we want you to stick around a little bit, Bill. And we're going to now head over to Bennett, and then we'll come back to you here in just a little bit. So we're going to keep you on camera in case there's an opportunity for you to chime in as well. But we're going to now go to the big dog, Bennett Kelly, who's sitting on the 18th floor of the luxurious mansion overlooking Santa Monica. And so
there you go.
Good to see you, dog. How are you?
I'm all right. Just hanging in there, living the quintessential lawyer life. And but one thing we've been thinking about and trying to talk to our clients about, and by the way, this is just this is for discussion purposes. It's not legal advice. We do not represent the people listening, but we're happy to do so if they want to give us a call. But
internetlawcenter.com.
internetlawcenter.net. And as we move back to things opening up, unlike the way we closed down, where it was kind of like the Reid Hoffman analogy of an entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and invents a parachute. We had to do that on the fly. We now have an opportunity to think about what we're going to do and how we're going to open up. And so what do you need to get your workspace compliant? In terms of whatever the social distancing guidelines will be in effect in the state where your offices are. Who do you bring back? How many people can you bring back? And will they want to come back?
Yeah, I was going to say, Ben, and I think a lot of people are going to push back from going into an office environment saying it's not safe. Is there any liability there?
Well, actually, there's the issue here in Iowa and a couple other states that they're making that if you don't go back, you lose unemployment insurance. But
really?
There's also an issue. Some people want to create liability caps or immunity for employers, for bringing people back to workplaces. But the workers are saying, wait a minute, why should we have to go to places that put us at risk? I don't know if you know the restaurant chain Houston's.
Yeah.
They're telling people wearing a mask is inconsistent with our image, so you can't wear a mask.
Wow.
And so the mask is actually not meant to protect the worker. It's meant to protect the people,
customers. Yeah.
And so basically they're saying, protecting our customers is inconsistent with our image. So, I mean, there's a lot to think about. And the other thing to think about is look at your lease. Do you have a lease coming up? In light of how well this remote working experience may have been or may not have, are you going to need that space?
Right.
And when that lease comes up. So there's a lot of considerations, and just you have some time to think about it. Also you probably want to put in place policies. And what are you going to do to make sure what are the standards, what will the rules be for this new workplace? And it's just something you have to start thinking about now.
So does that, Bennett, mean that they've got to basically reinvent or their those things that you get when you sign on, like an employee handbook and all that stuff that's got the rules in it? Do they have
yeah, exactly. They're going to have to update it. We're not going back to pre-COVID days. We're going back to kind of this post-apocalyptic day of, the first day back. And most people aren't as old as I am, but there was this TV movie the day after about a nuclear attack, and this is kind of life after the day after. And so what do we do, and how do we go back to work? The other thing is you want to be flexible, because there's a lot of warnings that as the flu season hits in the fall, that this may spike again, because they're saying the strain could even be stronger. So
I read something last night that this string is now changing. It's now morphing into a different strain. I'm sorry. So it could be interesting.
Yeah, and also make sure your office has toilet paper.
Right. Unfair work practices, right? No toilet paper.
Exactly.
OT.
Now, what about?
Now's the time to start thinking about that. And granted, you may or may not know the rules, because depending on what your state is, they may not have announced what those rules are. I grew up in Rhode Island, and someone just sent me the guidance that's coming out from their state in terms of retail stores and how much distance is going to be required between
Right.
customers, and so it's a whole new world we're going to be working in. But why not take the lessons you learned from this experience and implement them? If there are things that worked by doing this remote thing, keep them. That's
Now, what
the
about
takeaway.
like movie theaters and things like that? Are they going to, change the terms, on their tickets or whatever, or even venues change the terms to limit liability for any exposure? Because I'm sure it's something they never thought about before.
I mean, that would be an option. I mean,
Right? I would think
and
so.
and and would you buy that ticket? Is seeing
Right.
the
Or
new
cruise
James
ships,
Bond
right?
the new James Bond movie was supposed to come out
Right.
this summer, and it's still May. Who knows? But is seeing James Bond worth taking that risk? Some
I
people
think
may
a
say
lot.
yes.
Yeah, I think a lot's going to come out in streaming. I know Disney did some releases in streaming recently that was supposed to come out in the theaters. I think that's really the way it's going to go. Because I mean,
I saw a
what do
movie
you
theater
do?
in Texas start, since they had a big parking lot, just put
Right.
up a screen and start showing. I mean,
Oh
created
yeah,
an
yeah,
impromptu drive-in.
yeah. You could do that, but I'm saying
But drive-ins are expensive. That's a lot of real estate.
a traditional movie theater. I mean, how are they going to cope? Are they going to do every other seat? It's it's kind of like the challenge that Vegas is having right now. I mean, how do you separate people?
Right.
Same thing with the stadiums, right? What are you going to do? Football game every other seat.
Well,
Which,
in
by the way, is
Korea right now, so here's
yeah,
a preview. In Korea right now, they started their baseball season without fans.
yeah.
And ironically enough, they still had cheerleaders.
Oh, funny. And speaking of that,
With no fans.
wow, yeah. What
That
about
was more for the
soccer?
TV audience.
What about soccer? Soccer's a huge fan audience globally,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And most of those stadiums hold what 80,000, 100,000 people.
Right. And then keep in mind, where this is 2020,
Right.
in 2022, there's a World Cup.
Right.
And then work your way back. There are going to be competitions all throughout 2021 to decide who
Right.
goes.
Right.
And so how are we going to do that?
Good question.
Now, the NBA has just said they're going to let people go back to their practice facilities
Yep.
starting Friday in states where it's permitted, but limiting how many players at a time. And, I just posted on social media about that, and that, so will that give, teams and states that are relaxing restrictions an
Better content for
advantage?
everybody. Yeah.
But, some of the states that are relaxing include Phoenix and Atlanta, and I'm pretty sure they're still going to suck.
Well, yeah, the Miami Dolphins, they basically came out and said, "Hey, we're going to go for it. We're gonna basically assign different colors on your ticket to which entrance you can come in and come out, and they're going to release people like they do in church, row by row by row." And so really, people are really starting to think through this now. Interesting point that you brought up, Bennett, is and Kevin also, when we do get closer to flu season, how are we going to see what's taking place? Or is it we're going to see extreme reaction? Or are we going to shut everything back?
Unfortunately, John, I believe that if they don't have a vaccine, which is highly unlikely at this point, they'll start the NFL season. They'll start the preseason, and I think by mid-September, October, there'll be a little bit of an outbreak. Pandemonium will kick in again, and they'll just suspend the football season, and then we'll go back into the same type thing. I mean, until they get a vaccine, I don't think anything's going to get back to even semi-normal. Not that it'll ever get back to normal, but I don't think it's going to get back to semi. Right. And going to your point, John, would you want to go to a football game where you have to be assigned a seat, be assigned when you get up, when you leave, when you can go get a beer, a hot dog? Right. Like, I mean, it's way too structured. I mean, part of the experience in spending good money. I mean, an NFL ticket, an average ticket's $350 or $400. It's not to go into this structured type environment. I don't see it. I wouldn't do it personally.
Yep, and I think that there's a lot of mixed emotions out there. Speaking of reinventing yourself, we just looked to the door of our green room, and we've got a superstar that's with us there. He's got a big project that's going on, and of course, we're talking about Darren Blatt, and we know him as D Dollar Sign or D Money. Hey, man, thank you for taking the time to be with us. We like to get these updates every show because you've got a lot going on, and you had a great business that we all loved and really loved to be out there. You had everybody in the world that were there, and so talk about affiliate ball and what you're doing to change your business a little bit.
Well, thanks for the great intro. I appreciate that one. Yeah, so we're changing things up a little bit. So the affiliate ball is now done virtually until we can all get back together again in person. And we have the virtualdigitalexpo.com, which we've just released and we're about to really go nuts with. You're probably seeing a bunch of advertisements all over Facebook lately because we target people pretty well. Facebook marketers, right? And this is what the show is about, marketing. I bet you I reached most of you.
Not for the big Fabu, though. He tells me he only gets ads for the pens and AARP. That's about it. I don't know why.
It's quintessential to life. Quintessential to life.
The good news is that we're getting a lot of booths sold. So we've got like half the trade show floor already gone. So we're looking to fill up the second half of the floor. And if we need to, we can actually open up another expo hall because we own the venue. We have as many expo halls as we need, right?
It's amazing. So what do you think, Darren, as far as when physical trade shows will be back? What's your guesstimation? And I'm going to hold you to it.
I mean, look, I'm hopeful, like the rest of us, that this whole thing could end tomorrow. I mean, if in a perfect world, I'd rather not create a virtual trade show with virtual parties. I'd rather not. I'd rather us all go back
to a physical party. Sure.
But I mean, look, if they rushed the vaccine out and it was ready in January and everybody could start taking it, then maybe February, March in a perfect world. But realistically, probably not.
So all these companies like, LeadsCon, and I'll focus on the word con, just released it. They're doing a show in Vegas in October. So is that just a stall tactic? And Bennett, you can chime in too. Is that just a stall tactic because they're holding all this money, or do they legitimately think that they're going to hold the show in October?
What do you think, Bennett?
I mean, they're holding. Keep in mind, Bennett, they're holding.
That's like that
probably
lawsuit against Major League Baseball and Ticketmaster.
Well over $1 million they're holding, right? Well over $1 million, I would say.
They want to have something on calendar so they can say they're holding it for.
Right.
Is the fall
October
realistic?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think year and a half probably until we all can do a trade show again.
Yeah.
Well,
also the one other thing, Darren, is could it be a trade show where it's only so many people at a time? And would people go to that? Is that the same experience?
Yeah, I think the physical trade shows are going to probably have to change, maybe into your one-on-one meetings or something. But that's bad news for you, Darren, unfortunately, because that would mean no affiliate balls, no get-togethers. But I think the concerts and venues and stuff. I mean, everybody's gone online. I looked at TikTok. They did virtual prom with all these big names, like performing online. I think that's where it's going, at least for the near future.
I mean, I think, being a digital marketer myself, we all evolve, so you have to figure out how to change up your strategy with your marketing campaign. So I approach the affiliate ball kind of the same way. I just have to change the approach. We could still do the affiliate ball. We're not going to do it in person. We got Mixmaster Mike as the DJ. So we're still going to throw a party and we're still going to throw an expo. And I do expect a lot of people are going to go. Today, we're about to send out a massive blast. We have 20,000 accounts already created. So today we're going to send them notice that their account is ready and it's active and all they got to do is create a password. So we're going to bring a crowd. I just want to get more exhibitors on board so they can see that we're not stuck right now. We don't have to be stuck without a trade show. Like we can still do it. And maybe in some ways it could be a little better since you can actually reach people directly and do business right away. When you're passing at a trade show, you could talk for a second, but you didn't really get their name, their card, their number. But through a virtual show, you have a way to contact them.
You'll have all the follow-up. Yeah, that's one of my challenges with a physical show is I come back with all these cards and I bent them a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, you know, or in Bill's case, I threw the card away because I took his cell phone number. But this way you'll have everything to follow up. Are you still looking for speakers, by the way, Darren? Because I was just thinking of, I'm going to try and do a deal on every show. I was just thinking of Mr. Bennett Kelly could potentially be a really good speaker.
You know what? We do need some more legal. That would be amazing. And we do have at least 2 speaker slots. What we have is we have 2 days of trade show, and then the last day are going to be all speakers. And by the way, anybody with a booth can be a speaker during the trade show as well. So we
Can you explain that? Can you explain that? Can you explain
Yeah,
that?
so
How does that work?
Everybody with a booth has a business Zoom account. Some of them have the bigger ones for 500 people. Some have 300 people.
Yeah.
So if they want to speak, they let us know what day during the trade show floor they want to speak and at what time. They can pick any time they want. And we'll list them from inside of the expo as a speaker on that day and that time, and we'll send people to their booth. In addition to that, the people that are going booth to booth, they might just stumble upon it and be like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. He's already speaking, and grab a seat and check it out.
So essentially somebody could be a speaker. Let's say Bennett was a speaker, but he could also have a booth, and then he could do his own presentation at the booth for people that come to his booth directly.
Yeah,
Correct?
and if he wanted to, he can record that, and we can have an extra screen with our bigger booth package.
Yeah.
And you could play a demo video, promo video, and you could still go live. So we have that as well.
Wow, nice.
But as far as our speakers that we're going to do our big day on, we're looking for 10 of the best. We want big names that, even besides the big name, I mean, we want content. We want really good, useful tips for our people because we're all marketers and we want to learn. So that's the focus is let's learn something, do some business and network. We might have an additional day we might add at the beginning of the show, depending on if we fill up with the speakers. Right now we have about 2 speaker slots out of the 10 that we have designated for June 5th. And then if we have a lot more quality, then we'll add a day at the beginning of the show, which will be on June 2nd, a day before the expo floor.
Well, great. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, we're going to keep having you back here to keep us informed and as things go along. Good information. Wish you the best of luck and a true example of reinventing yourself. And we're going to be there for you as well. So in closing, we're going to kind of send it around the horn here a little bit for a segment of things you should know and things that you need to know. So we're going to start off with the Click Father and give us some insightful information, Kevin.
And traffic is cheap right now. So if you're just pivot and figure out where you can make the most impact, but traffic is a lot cheaper than it normally is. So if you're buying media, keep expanding. That's what we're doing. You know, we're staying away from the markets that obviously are impacted, you know, home services. It's funny, Bill, you talked about your moving experience. We actually have 3 moving clients right now that we can't really do much with until it opens back up, until the country opens back up. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity. You just have to find it, you know, and understand consumers don't have a lot of money right now, but essential services, whether it's auto insurance, life insurance, estate planning, final expense planning, anything in those realms does well because people are right now, they have the time to stop, pause, and evaluate their life. You know, before it's just go, 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 go. I'm sure, Bill, you're probably seeing a lot of people switching their auto insurance now. Just because they had time to actually look at their bill and say, oh, you know, and I don't want to turn into a Geico commercial, but they're like, oh, I could save X amount on my auto insurance, where before it would just be like, yeah, whatever, just pay the bill. So I think there's a, you know, there's a big opportunity there. You just have to find the opportunity, put the work in, and you'll get the results.
Good, good, good. Bennett Kelly, you've always got some insightful information. Not necessarily does it have to be internet related, but tell us what we should know, and more than that, what we need to know.
What you need to know now is things are in this period of chaos. Maybe cling to the things that give you a sense of normalcy. And this past weekend, was Derby weekend. And we didn't have a Kentucky Derby, but that didn't mean we couldn't make mint juleps. So and we did and had a great time with it. So
you know, you could have made some and Ubered them up to me in Malibu. You know,
I could. Well,
yeah.
I still have I still have some whiskey left. So
there you go.
But try to do things like that to get you through this this
Yeah.
crisis.
Great advice.
Cling to the things that have that sense of normalcy that we once had.
Good pearls of wisdom. And Bill, again, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Of course, we're talking with Bill Somerville of Policy Bind, and good insight. And I know you're going through some interesting times as well. And so tell us something that we should know, and more so than something that we need to know.
Yeah, I mean, something that you should know. Traffic is, I would say, a little bit cheaper now than it has been. And I touched on this before. A lot of people are using marketing tactics that are a little bit on the scarier side. I don't see too much of a difference between guys that are doing that and guys that are taking a more informative, compassionate approach to the marketing. It is easier just to get a jump on a campaign and quickly push traffic. But again, you're more than likely going to get shut down for something like that. As you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, a lot of these places are looking for that stuff. So make it a long play. I don't think this is going to not be top of mind for quite some time. And I think there's a lot of way to help people and make money at the same time. And if you can do that, kudos to you. And then something you should know that you probably already know that I'll remind you is, just take care of yourself and take care of your family in a time like this.
Great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Thanks,
we want to have you come back from time to time. And also those of you that are listening to this show or watching this show, if there's a topic that you'd like us to talk about or touch on, please ping us and let us know what's going on so we can answer those questions as well. And more so than that, remember, we are a non-ad sponsored show. So the way you can help us is make sure that you go and give us 5 stars in the ratings wherever you're taking this in, and that's going to help us grow as well. And week to week, we'll kind of cover what you guys need to know and what you should know with our experts, and we'll kind of get through this and continue to give great information. Again, we're in the campus of UNLV in beautiful, as you can see behind me, non-downtown Las Vegas, and we're all going to get through this as well, and with the help of each other, and gives us a chance to chat with each other. So great show, you guys. I want to thank the Click Father, Kevin DiVincenzi. I want to thank the Big Dog Bennett Kelly, Bill Somerville for being with us, and Brasco for engineering this whole product as well. And we're going to have more information. We're going to be back our next show every week as well. Kevin, I want to thank you, our executive producer, for pitching in and carrying the heavyweight for us. And
every week our show comes out on iTunes on Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, look for a new episode on iTunes.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you so much for trusting me with your most precious item, your audience and stuff. So in closing, I'll pull up the Depends and give you some quintessential thoughts to take into the week, and we'll see you back next time. I'm the Big Fat Boo. I'm John Fondy, and you've been watching Internet Traffic Kings. We'll see you next time.